Hello and welcome to Finch Restorations and the first episode in our series, all about classic and vintage cars and bikes, our projects and their owners. Afterwards, join me, Jay Devison, and our panel of experts who will share experiences and advice on restoration, motorsport, history and today's motoring scene. Don't forget, we are live, so send in your questions now. Stick them in the comments section, whether you're looking on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll see you after the documentary.
Finch Restorations, we specialise in doing nut and bolt restorations, stripping cars down to their every last screw and nut and building them up from there. So we do the one-stop shop, the big projects. What I was attracted by Finch was the provenance. Finch was first established by Ray Finch in 1965, and having that depth of experience and some staff that have been here for 30 odd years was a very attractive element of Finch. One of the lovely things about car restoration is that we're actually preserving part of not only our nation's history, but in many cases international history. We see vehicles from Europe, America, the UK. It's tremendous to see all these ones and be part of that one. And to keep these vehicles on the road, and it's lovely to see the customers with their passion. That modern vehicles, they're not designed to last, they are more disposable, and we're dealing with vehicles that were intended to be around for a long time and will last a long time. And people like driving them just for the pure pleasure of being that old vehicle.
My name's Stephen Smith, married, 2 kids, 6 grandchildren from those 2. I've worked at Finch Restorations for about 18 months. My father has restored motorbikes for probably 40 odd years, all vintage bikes, so I got my passion from that. My first memory of helping my father with an old vintage bike was we went to an auction and bought a wreck of a 1927 350 AJS. I didn't think you could even fix it. But yeah, a couple of years later we were riding around. When I came here, we'd done a little bit of work on it, but Morris Wesson started building it in 1912, I believe. Built a home in his father's garage in Richmond, Victoria. He then went to war. He did active service, and when he came back, him and his father, they went overseas and they tried to float the company. They injected £30,000, I believe, back in 1924, which was a huge amount of money, and they never sold a bike. The company failed, and he rode it and rode it and rode it. This is a single prototype bike, and it's the only one known to have ever been made. It's the only one in existence. The owner found this on a rubbish dump in Victoria in the 70s. Since then, he's been trying to do a lot of research and piece it back together, and we've fabricated a rear stand from an old drawing. We've fabricated the luggage rack, chain guards, we've fabricated those, exhaust we've fabricated. We basically came here less than 50% complete. There is no plans, there's no drawings, it's just, you've got to sit down and work it out. We've just been piecing together and making pieces and getting it all fitted up. Several people have had a go at restoring it, but we're the ones that are going to actually get it finished and on the road.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and my car is a 1950 Studebaker 2R5 truck. She's 70 years old and she's a little bit leaky. So basically safety checks, seat belts, and just make sure that she's a safe car to drive so I can enjoy it, and then we'll see where we go from there. I chose the Studebaker partly because I saw online a sale, and a girl can't refuse a sale. I fell in love with this one as soon as I saw it. I didn't even know it was a Studebaker. I went and had a look at it. I did have to YouTube how to drive 3 on the tree. She's still, I think, quite original at this point in time. I would actually like to know the history, how many owners, you know, where did it live? Was it South Australian? Where did it spend most of its life? And who, you know, got it to this stage? Obviously, it's had some work done on it. You know, someone's obviously loved it before, and yeah, it'd be nice to know that history. So I probably will spend some time trying to track that down. I think I would say to women that want a classic and haven't ventured there yet is, you know, there's nothing to lose. It's For me, it's probably one of the most joyous things is driving the car, and I think there's nothing to be afraid of either. There's people out there that are willing to help you. People love the fact that you've got an old car, and life's too short. If you love it, do it.
Welcome back. We hope Restorations or resto modding your classic daily drive. Join us each fortnight for a look into the world of vintage and classic motoring. Now remember, we are live, so we're looking forward to seeing your questions. Just add them into the comments section whether you're watching us on Facebook or live on YouTube. Joining me tonight on the panel are members of the Finch team with a range of experiences which include motorsport, restoration and project management. And they are...
Good evening, my name is Peter Roberts. With my wife, we are the owners of Finch Restorations. I'm an engineer with 40 years of experience in complex shipbuilding projects, and I have formal qualifications in both engineering and project management.
Hi, I'm Shane. At Finch I mostly do technical development and fault finding. I've got 20 years experience in the automotive trade, and I'm a keen land speed racer.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm the workshop manager. I also manage some of the individual projects here. My industry experience comes from a qualified mechanic background and also running crash repair shops, as well as being a motor repair consultant. I'm involved with race cars from the ground root level up to managing teams and also engineering cars at a national level around racetracks around Australia.
Hi, my name is Molly Spalding. I'm a project manager here at Finch Restorations. Like some of our other panel, I have motorsport experience, mainly in rally cars, building, developing, racing, driving, bit of an all-rounder there. But yeah, project management is what I do at Finch.
So there you have it. That's pretty much your expert panel, and we're going to guide you over the next few months, every fortnight, on your questions and a bit of an insight into what restoration is all about. So to get us started tonight, we're going to address the question that everybody inevitably asks us when it comes to a restoration, that is, how much will it cost? So I think we're going to start perhaps with Peter, who's going to tell us a little bit about the overall aspect of costing a project.
With a new inquiry we receive at Finch, whether it be a local or an interstate inquiry, the first thing we need is to have an understanding of the current state of the car or the truck or motorcycle and what the expectations are of the customer. So if it was an interstate customer, we would ask them to provide a large amount of photographs. Those photographs, we would want them to be showing all the worst aspects of the car. We don't need fashion shots. We need to understand all the vehicle's secrets. After organising the transport of the vehicle, if it's coming from interstate, one of the first things we would do would be to give it a full appraisal once it arrived in our workshops. We would put it up on the hoist, and we would have panel shop, mechanical and paint shop people would go over the vehicle. We'd then give a report back to the owner to give them an indication of what we had seen. And we do that all through the restoration project. After stripping the car, we would then give feedback and cataloguing all the parts. We'd give feedback on what we had found during the disassembly. And then as each part of the car, like the body, all the paint stripping has occurred, we'd take all the filler off, we'd give feedback on the rust that emerges that we find during that process. If we're pulling an engine, doing an engine overhaul, after the engine had been cracked open, we would give feedback and a report.
So it's a very thorough investigation going into. So you mentioned about paint, panel, mechanical and everything. I think that's a great segue into really understanding what Finch Restorations can do. Shane's here, who represents mechanical side. Tim, being workshop manager, has had a lot of experience in panels. So Shane, perhaps you can tell us about the mechanical side and what we do here.
Look, from a mechanical point of view, we've sort of got two streams within the business. One side's more of our restoration side, long-term projects, reconditioning engines, gearbox diffs, doing engine conversions, fuel injection upgrades, whatever people require.
And your electrical as well?
There's also electrical upgrades, replace wiring looms is often a...
Resto mods.
Resto mods, yep.
And the air conditioning you were pointing out over there that you
Yes,
so
that's
diligently
right.
spent months working on and getting perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, you know, any of the modern cons that people want in their nice classic car for the weekend, we can help them out with. But we also have a dyno and tune shop that can do your regular servicing, carburetor rebuilds, distributors, you know, final tune-up, carby tickling, etc.
And they do everything from 1900s up to 1980s, maybe a little bit later.
Absolutely.
Chrome bumpers pretty much is our cut-off.
Yeah, or pre-chrome.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, Shane. Okay, so panel work. I'll get Tim. Tell us about panel. What do we do?
Look, we can do pretty much anything, right from building a car from scratch, a bespoke design of yours or in-house, through to restoring to original a car that might have been in your family for 50, 60, 70 years. It involves a lot with bodywork, and a lot of it you can't see until you get the paint off. So it's really hard to give cost or accurate cost indications without first stripping the body, finding out how much rust is there and how much fill has been used. And these cars have had a number of lives previously to getting them here.
And that's often the breaking point with some clients, isn't it? Because
Yep.
we strip the car and then they find the amounts of rust, and it really comes down to what the customer is prepared to do and how far they're going to go
Sure,
with
you
that
know, we
restoration.
never find less rust than we expect.
No.
You know, so it's just an unfortunate part of doing a job, but you get some surprises. But we can build individual panels for cars. We can metal finish a car if you want. Cost obviously is an issue when you start to metal finish everything. But yeah, we can take it straight from a wreck in the paddock through to a concourse vehicle panel, mechanical wise.
We also do some of the traditional methods such as lead wiping. And
Yeah, yep. There's not many people around who do lead wiping and that sort of thing. And there is plastic filler, which is no problems in most situations, but there are times to use lead.
Technically, it's fine.
Yeah.
Not like it used to be, where it used to soak up moisture and cause more rust over a period of time, then fall out. But we're not talking about putting it on inch thick of bog. We're talking about a light skim to finish off the surface.
We like to be well under the 3mm industry standard.
Yeah.
And we like to keep it to 1mm if we can. And obviously cost is part of
I
that.
just
So
want to
we
interrupt
have a
you
chat
there
with the customers.
because I'm terribly rude. You talked about Concord. You also, someone mentioned resto modding. There's two of the things we do. Molly, perhaps you can talk about Concord resto modding and the other levels of restoration we do.
Well, briefly, if I touch on the different levels that we can do, because it does go back to that original question of cost. So we can do just sections of a project as well. We actually quite regularly will have somebody come in who's maybe done a lot of the mechanical themselves and then wants us to do the panel and paint work. So we can do that, and by that we can work to the budget as well. If someone's come in, they've maybe got an old family car and they have some budget set aside to do that, we can then work out with them whether they'd prefer us to do paint, some panel, maybe a little bit of paint and panel, and then mainly mechanical. So it's quite flexible that way.
So we can do the whole car, or we can do components.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned, well, okay, now we're starting to get, we now have two questions in, so I think we might leave the costs there and we might go to our two questions. Our first one comes from Carl Schubert, who asks, what considerations should you take when putting a motorcycle into long-term storage? Motorcycle guru, sand drags, land speed record, just about to hold champion. We might go to Shane.
Look, one of the most important things you can do in these times is to drain as much of the fuel out of the bike as possible, particularly if it's a carburetted motorcycle. The modern fuels are terrible for drying out and clogging up parts of your carby, which it's not a simple measure of just cleaning out the jets anymore. You've got to take the whole thing apart and give it a good scrub to bring them, back into line a lot of the time. If you can get the bike off the ground so the suspension's fully extended, that's a good thing. And also, if it's a water-cooled bike, make sure either your coolant's up to speed or you've drained the system completely dry.
So draining fluids, taking the pressure off of springs and suspensions, disconnecting battery?
Yes, if it has
And
one.
they're pretty
Yeah.
notorious, because my old bike, in 28 years of owning my old bike, I think I've gone through a battery every year, because
Yes,
there'll be times that I don't ride it, I do ride it. I think I've spent as much on batteries on the motorcycle as I have on the restoration and maintenance of the whole bike. What do you suggest? What do we do?
Look, if it's a bike you're going to pull out sort of, seasonally, winterise it and then come out in summer, put a lithium battery in it. They'll replace all the old lead acid ones, and they just don't seem to degrade. It's one of the great modern upgrades you can do without really affecting the originality of the bike.
Okay.
Apart from that, really, it's cannot stress enough, drain the fuel, drain the tank, drain the carburettor.
What about atmospheric conditions? Obviously, we're not going to put it into a shed that's dripping water on top of it. I mean, the obvious things, but there is anything that we can do beyond just keeping it dry. Car coons is something that is that something that should be considered? Or you think just keeping it dust free and keeping it...
Yeah, try to keep the dust out, keep the moisture down. If it is going to be in the back shed and it's prone to condensation, as particularly up in the Adelaide Hills, it really is, then a cover on it's good. There are some really good moisture absorbing bricks you can get from various hardware stores that help out. You put them around the bike, they keep it nice and dry.
Moisture is the biggest killer, and keeping
Absolutely,
it dry is
absolutely.
a
Dust,
no-brainer.
for a bike that's not moving, dust isn't usually a huge issue. It's really the moisture.
Yeah. And it's the really long-term storage where dust starts to accumulate on paint, and then the moisture starts to build up in that, where it starts to break down paint surface.
Yeah.
But that's the same for cars or bikes, really, isn't it?
That's right.
Carl, thank you for your question. I hope that answers it. If you want any more information, please drop us a line, go to the website, give us a call, send us an email. We've got another question here, unless anyone wants to say anything else.
If you don't have appropriate conditions for storing, we do actually have a storage facility. So potentially, was it Carl?
Yes.
Send us an email. We can potentially organise something with you.
We do.
Yeah, it's got the atmospheric conditions, it's temperature controlled, all of the stuff you want.
Bikes are pretty small, aren't they? But plenty of people have got cars. We all have cars that we always want a bigger shed and struggle to fit them in. So
and
certainly
the wine
if anyone
storage
have cars,
as well. We'll do that for free. We
No
may
promises
take it.
you'll get it back.
No, that's right. Okay, so Philip Kilby has sent in a question as well. Philip, thanks for joining us. What happens if there is too much rust? That's a loaded question. Too much rust.
How much is too much?
Too much. Really, too much rust is going to depend on your budget. If it's something that is precious, it means an awful lot, and the current commercial value is there, we'll fix it.
It's not just about commercial value, Jade. It's emotional value. A lot of the projects we have real emotional connection to their families.
Case in point is our
The 33
Dodge Tourer behind us.
Yep.
You may just see that. One owner family car from 1933. It was built here in Adelaide by TJ Richards. The family, it went interstate. The family contacted us and said, we want this car restored irrespective of cost. To a certain extent, we've been able to keep that cost quite well controlled, and now it is a superb looking car. We'll probably do a story on that in the future.
The other comment to make too is that we also would seek out donor bodies or depends on what sort of vehicle it is, but there's
or major panels and parts, and we can make a lot of it. We have had a few cars drop recently, Phil, that let's say that there wasn't a lot of the car left, and we've managed to work ways of actually building the bodies, and as Peter said, get donor cars or parts for them as well. So there's always a way around it, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the budget and your attachment to that vehicle, or the resale value afterwards, which most cases with restoration is not a big key to it. It's usually an emotional decision, a life, a goal that you want a certain car, etc. So, but we can pretty much, if they build it new, we can build it from scratch.
That's right.
Okay. Now we have a few more questions. We actually have a couple of questions that have been sent in to us recently that we thought we'd actually hold off and answer tonight. One question we've got from Mike from Victoria. He says, "Hi guys, great show so far. We appreciate you actually talking about our show. and the teaser video that we've sent out and that you commented on. He asked if we have any experience with motor racing, and I think we've pretty much covered that tonight. He says he has a 72 Porsche 2-litre Carrera that I use in historic rallies. I want to enter the Adelaide Rally. Can you prepare the car and store it for me until the next race in 2021? I'm going to go to Molly, because Molly's actually about to participate as a driver in this year's Classic Adelaide Rally. Molly, what can we do?
Right, well, I mean, first question is, what are your goals for the rally? If it's to win, then we can, you know, work on the engine, work on the car and get it set up so that you have the power for it. If you are out there competing because you love being in rallies and enjoying your car, we can make sure that you're absolutely going to finish, which is a main component of rallying.
So finish as opposed to win.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really a case of what you want to do with the car, how well it's already set up. You mentioned that you've done some rallies before, so chances are it's already relatively set up.
Yep, so uses in historic rallies.
Yeah, so probably it will be a case of giving it over to Shane, who would do a very thorough inspection, see what we're working with, and then Shane, maybe do you want to go into how you'd prep the vehicle?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a car that's already set up for racing, we'd to prep for a particular rally, we'd do a very thorough inspection. You know, you check all the 20-cent parts that leave you wanting at the end of the race. You know, hose lamps, fuel lines, you know, just basic stuff that can hold you in your tracks.
Basic stuff you'd check over on a normal car on any of our service work that we do at the powerhouse anyway.
Yeah, that's it. So on a normal car, you know, that will get you a year of driving. On a race car, that's you know,
event,
that's for that event, and then recheck
every
it.
event. Nut and bolt check, spanner check, everything.
I mean, something like a Porsche obviously will be very close on checking valve clearances and engine oil, coolers, that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll just give a good check over and.
I mean, we can get the wheel ump sorted. We could do ride heights if need be, depending how much equipment's basically fit to the car. You know.
So Mike's from Richmond in Victoria. Wants us to look after the car, prep it, and store it here.
Yes.
Storage facility we mentioned before.
So the storage facility at Finch, we have a. Peter, do you want to tell us about the storage we've got here? Couple of options.
Well, I think Molly probably covered it. Yeah, we have a temperature-controlled facility. It's about 700 square metres. I'm not sure the actual. It's quite a large
Pretty
one.
much dust-free and dirt-free.
That's right.
Yeah, sealed.
And it's humidity controlled as well, because of the nature of the previous occupants. We're very lucky to get that. So it would appear that, yes, the answer is, Mike, yes, we can look after your car, we can prepare your car, and I think if you talk to any of the gang here, we would probably even help you get to the race and give you some sort of a team to manage on the time. Whilst we've been answering Mike's question, we've actually got 3 more questions in. We may not get time for them all, but let's go. So we've got Robin Broad. He asks, are all aspects of a full restoration done in-house? Who wants to have it?
I'll perhaps take that one. In a word, no. We do like to keep as much in-house as we can, but there are some specialist things that we do tend to either chase individual companies that specialise in that, or we sometimes also bring in specialists in-house to actually work for us for a certain period of time, what have you. We can't, there's so many things and facets of these cars over 100 odd years, skills, and Shane's up on a lot of them, and he actually does a lot of our research and development of particular skills, and we'd love to grow and be able to do everything, but
we would
certainly at
probably
this stage
need,
not.
We'd probably need 100 staff to cover all
Exactly.
that.
That's right.
But casting is something which we would outsource.
That's right,
Yeah.
casting, yeah.
And the other ones, although we look after white metal pouring on very vintage, that's something we send out, but then we
have the specialists come in here and guide us as well.
And then we do all of our machining and look after
We've
it.
also done white metal bearings in-house as well.
Yes. Okay, Robin, hope that answers your question. We're going to get on to John's question. John Maguire.
So, sorry, Jay, could I just interrupt? I think it would also be important to say that I think one of the niche capabilities or competencies that we have here is that, which sets us apart from most restorers, is that we do so much of the projects in-house.
Oh, absolutely.
We have very major projects, very complicated projects. We have a lot of projects here which get brought to us from other shops to repair, finish off, and do all those sorts of things.
And we have a team which a lot of them have individual skills that bring a lot of that to the table as well.
Great. Any advances?
No, that's
Carry
the
on.
next
We're
one.
moving
Thanks,
on.
Joe.
Okay. All right. So, Rob, thank you so much for that. That was a great question. So, John Maguire, what has been your favourite car to work on? Everyone's going to have
Great
a different one. Everyone's going to have a different one. I think I'm going to start. I'm going to start. As a project manager and an advisor on restorations, I think the Mark II Jaguar just off shot here. You may just see the front end. I've had 3 over the past 25 years.
How did we know that was going to be your favourite?
I know. And the owner of that car has just specified the car the way that I would like it. It's just a dream to work on. It's absolutely everything is done. So Mark II Jaguar, that's mine, 3.8 manual overdrive.
Shall I go next?
Yeah.
One of the more recent ones that we've had in has been a 1950 Studebaker Ute, which I believe you guys may have seen some info on at the beginning. It's been amazing working with Jackie on that. She has actually come in and done some of the engine disassembly with us, with one of our staff training her.
Seriously a cool project.
Yeah. It's very cool, and she is so hands-on with it. Absolutely love it. It's, nice fun one to work on.
Tim?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't have a favourite. You know, I love them all.
Good, move
Pretty
on.
much all. There's a couple that
Move
are
on.
a bit
Shane?
stressful.
Look, probably the most interesting one's been the Wesson. The history, the fact that it's such an early Australian-made bike. It's every time a new part comes together on it, or we solve another problem, you know, everyone just smiles from ear to ear. It's
And it's starting to look awesome, isn't it?
it's starting to look
coming
fantastic.
It's really close to being finished.
I think my answer would probably be the next project.
Yeah.
But that said, I do like the specials, and
Yes.
I also, touching on the history aspect, I love exposing or unearthing the history of the vehicles, like the 1928 Studebaker, the GB Commander.
Yes.
They only built them for 11 months, and in December of 1928, Studebaker put out an advertisement saying that this is our all-new model with all steel construction.
Yes.
But the GB we're working on is composite, it's timber and steel. So you're seeing that transition in technology from an older technology to the new one, and you can also see the telltales from the people
Yeah,
that
that's
worked on
right.
these in the original. So I think it's not the favourite project, it's more about the history that oozes out of these projects.
Well, that project as well was bought by the owner's grandfather
Yes.
from New.
Yep.
Sat on the farm until he sent it over here, and it wasn't in overly great shape when we got it. It's been a very long and stressful
the
project.
wonderful story, the great uncle was so irritated by the car one day, he got out and shot it with his 303. There is a bullet hole in the radiator shell, and we are preserving that as part of the historical story that tells the story of this wonderful car, because a vintage car like this is an encyclopedia of the history of the owners. It's great
Absolutely.
stuff. Now I'm going to hold us up there because we are getting questions in thick and fast. We've got 2 great questions here. I'd like to answer Sam's question first. It's a very simple question. Is a Mark V Jaguar with rear shock absorbers that leak? Now that will be the lever arm shock absorber. You've asked, can we fix them? The answer is yes, we can. Give us a call through the week. We'll talk you through it. We'll talk about pricing and how we can sort you out. Rob Akers, I hope I've got that correct, has said, I have a 63 Lancia Flamina 3 smashed 45 years ago. My heart bleeds for you. Aluminium body, can you repair it? I know what the answer is, but I'm going to hand that over to the panel.
Yes.
Lancia
answer is
absolutely. Coupe.
That'd be a gorgeous car to work on.
This is special. So I think the question is less about can you fix any old aluminium body, or can you fix a very rare and beautiful Flamina Superleggera, which is super lightweight construction over a 3/4 inch tubular frame with stressed skin. What are we going to do?
Oh, well, look, obviously the first thing is inspect it and find out exactly how much damage has it gone through to the chassis. Is it just cosmetic on the outside? But we can repair anything, basically.
Yep.
We can hand form aluminium panels. I mean, the coach builder here at the moment is actually hand forming aluminium body for his own Cobra.
Yes.
You know, so
Yes.
One of them, one of our coach builders.
yeah,
I'll point out about the Superleggera as well. What we have been doing is 3D scanning. We're using new technology in introducing it into the restoration. So we'll 3D scan what there is, and then we can, when we can repair perfectly symmetrically. That's great if you want to have a Concord car that's beyond the norm, but if we have to repair it as it would have been in the day where the left side was created on the right, in balance with the other side by some very well-meaning old Italian restorers, there will be differences. So we will capture that patina, we'll capture that originality and make sure that it is as it should be and not overly restored, but certainly not under-restored. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
very exciting project, actually.
Yep, it
Yeah.
does. I think we're getting close to the end. We've actually gone over time, and I don't think that's a problem. Everyone who's written in, we're just overwhelmed by the subscriptions tonight and everyone watching. I'd like to thank John, Robin, Philip, Carl, Mike, Stuart, Sam, Rob. Thank you so much for your questions. I think that's pretty much all we've got time. So if you have more questions or some that were sent in and weren't answered tonight, go onto our website, have a look at the email address, check out our phone number, give us a call anytime through the week. We'll be just more than pleased to take your queries. Join us next time as we share more stories, and don't forget to send in your questions. You can get them in early if you want. We will be here to watch them throughout the night, and so remember to subscribe, share the link with your friends, and I think tonight's show was great. Please let us know what you think. So everyone, it's good night.
bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.